Um, Basically, Joe Biden has been president of the United States for 45 days. He inherited power from a predecessor who was trying to overturn the 2020 election results via the insurrection just 2 weeks before inaugural day, and whose appointees refused a kind of routine transition cooperation that other administrations took for granted. His party has a four-vote margin of control in the House right now, and only controls the Senate via the vice presidential tie-breaking vote, along with power-sharing arrangement with Republicans. Democratic control of the Senate was not assured until the wee hours of January 6, when the results of the Georgia runoff were clear. Biden took office in the midst of the COVID-19 winter surge, a national crisis over vaccine distribution, and flagging economic indicators. Biden named all his major appointees well before taking office, and as recommended by every expert, he pushed for early confirmation of his national security team, which he quickly secured. After some preliminary discussions with Republicans that demonstrated no real possibility of GOP support for anything like the emergency $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief and stimulus package he promised, noting that the votes weren't there in the Senate for significant filibuster reform, Biden took the only avenue open to him. He instructed his congressional allies to pursue the budget reconciliation vehicle to enact his COVID package, with the goal of enacting it by mid-March, when federal supplemental unemployment insurance would run out. Um, Going the reconciliation route meant exposing the package to scrutiny by the Senate parliamentarian. It also virtually guaranteed total opposition from congressional Republicans, which in turn meant Senate Democratic um, unanimity, which would be essential. The House passed the massive and complex reconciliation bill on February 27th, which was right on schedule with just two Democratic defections. Around the same time as the Senate parliamentarian, to no one's great surprise, it deemed a $15 an hour minimum wage provision already opposed by two Senate Democrats out of bounds for reconciliation. The Senate is moving ahead with the modified reconciliation bill, and the confirmation of Biden's cabinet is chugging ahead slowly but steadily. Like every recent president in that one squatter, he's had to withdraw at least one nominee. In his case, Neera Tanden, for the Office of Management and Budget. And though the administration's pick for deputy OMB director is winning bipartisan praise, it may be substituted smoothly for Tanden. Add in his efforts for the vaccine distribution, which has more than doubled since he took office, and any fair assessment of Biden's first 45 days should be very positive, but the man is currently being beset by criticism from multiple directions. Republicans, of course, have united in denouncing Biden's refusal to surrender his agenda in order to secure bipartisan unity, as a sign that he's indeed a socialist, or perhaps the stooge of socialists that Donald Trump always said he was. Progressives were incensed by what happened in the minimum wage, although it was very predictable, and media critics are treating his confirmation record as a rolling disaster rather than a mild annoyance. And given the context of a federal executive branch that was all but running itself for much of the last 4 years, and to be very fucking clear, I am not a big Joe Biden fan. I did find fault with his candidacy early and often. Basically, I voted for him in the 2020, only because I hated Trump. Um, but basically, I worried a lot about Biden's fetish for bipartisanship. Anyway, I do support the $15 an hour minimum wage, as do many, and basically, and have minimal respect for the upper chamber's self-important traditions. But come on, what specifically? This is the alternative path that he could have pursued the last 45 days. Republican criticism is not worthy of any serious attention. The GOP, the GOP is playing the same old tapes that it recorded in 2009, when Barack Obama and his sidekick Biden spent far too much time chasing the Republican senators around Washington in search of compromises that they never intended to make. And while they are entitled to oppose Biden's agenda, they are not entitled to kill it. Progressive criticism of Biden feels formulaic. Years and years of investment in the rhetoric of their eternal fight, and the belief that outrage shapes outcomes in politics and government, have led to the habit of seeing anything other than total subscription to the left's views as a sellout. Yes, Kamala Harris could theoretically overrule the Senate parliamentarian on the minimum wage, but to what end does she have? So long as Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema oppose the $15 an hour minimum wage, any Harris power could easily be countered by a successful Republican amendment to strike the language in question, and perhaps other items as well. And if the ideal is to play chicken with dissonant Democrats over the fate of the entire reconciliation bill, is a $15 an hour minimum wage really worth risking a $1.9 trillion $1.9 trillion package that's absolutely stuffed with subsidies for struggling low-income Americans, or the fight for 15 hardliners perhaps contemplating ends and means here. Media carping about Biden's legislative record so far is frankly just ridiculous. Presumably, writing about the obscure and complicated details of reconciliation bill is hard and unexciting work that readers may find uninteresting, and while treating Tandon's travails as an existential crisis for the Biden administration, it does provide drama. But this isn't all true. The reality is that Biden's cabinet nominees are rolling through the Senate with strong confirmation votes, and all but one received at least 64 votes, and despite a steadily more partisan atmosphere for confirmations in recent presidencies, the COVID-19 bill is actually getting through Congress at a breakneck pace, despite its unprecedented size and complexity. Trump's first reconciliation bill, which was principally aimed at repealing Obamacare, didn't pass the House until May 4, 2017, but it never got through the Senate. And yes, Obama got a stimulus bill through Congress in February of 2009, but it was less than half the size and much simpler and more to the point, and there were 59 Senate Democrats in office when it passed, which meant that he didn't have to use reconciliation. There's really no exact precedent for Biden's situation, particularly given the atmosphere of partisanship in Washington and the whole country right now, and the narrow window that he and his party possesses in terms of political capital and time. And to get more important things done, he should not be judged on any one legislative provision or any one cabinet nomination. So far, the wins far outweigh the losses and omissions, and give the 46th president a fucking break.